Welcome back. This is a 3-show series with the gorgeous Karen Comba, and it's called The Snipers We Didn't See. We've been talking about lots of things, including Karen's book, but today the focus is on mental health advocacy and support for children. But before we get on to the show, just a reminder, if you're listening to this on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, or the Everyday Women's Network, please know that in the show notes you will find ways in which to connect with us, or more particularly our amazing guest, Karen. Now, each and every week, we do a welcome to country, and it goes like this. I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Coomba language region on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia. And I want the traditional owners of the land on which we speak and broadcast. I want to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here listening or watching today. Here's what you need to know about Karen. The Snipers We Couldn't See is Karen Comba's memoir of rare power, a harrowing and intimate portrait of severe mental health illness from her mother, its far-reaching and generational impacts and effects. Told with determination and searing honesty, the book recounts the shattering details of growing up as a prime target for her schizophrenic mother's mental and physical abuse. Karen has now dedicated her life to mental health advocacy. She's managed nursing homes, medical centers, and has worked directly with those affected by mental illness for many years. She was born in rural Nebraska and now lives in Castle Rock, Colorado, with her husband, Curt. She believes in staying in your happy pond and shows up every day doing just that. Welcome back to the show, Karen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Toni. And it's so wonderful to be on Everyday Women's Network, Toni's TV. I just love it. It's an honor to be with you. And thank you for the incredible opportunity for me to share my passion with everyone out there.
Karen, you've got such a wealth of lived and life experience. And today we really want to get into advocating for mental health support for children and adults, those that are dealing with a mental health illness themselves, or are looking after or supporting a parent or a significant other person in their life. This is a very personal crusade for you, Karen. Can you tell the audience why?
It's such a crusade because after I lived through what I've lived through with my mother, I thought I couldn't be the only child out there. And I felt so alone growing up with everything happening around me, that I was the only one, and there was just nothing happening to help me. And I thought, this has to stop. The child has to have a voice, which that's what I do. I give the child a voice and let them know they're not alone, and they can start speaking up and they can start learning. And I talk to everybody on how to start helping the children learn about mental health, mental illness, and so that they can start thriving. I just really took it deep into my heart, thinking of the millions before me that never thrived, and including myself. I feel like I was lucky that I made it this far. I feel I was chosen, but I didn't thrive as far as I think I could have went in my life, because I really didn't know who I even was, with my self-worth being so damaged. And then I think of the millions that are going to come after me if I don't start talking and saying it out loud. So I am on a mission to bring change and solutions, not just talking about it, if you will,
Yeah.
Toni. I just want to
Yeah.
bring solutions.
Karen, can you talk about some of the things that are available to support children, and what's missing from that space in your perspective?
The first thing is they are coming out with things to help with children, but they're just not addressing them in the schools.
Mm.
And the reason I'm so advocate about, or just so serious about getting in the schools, is because I know that them kids are not going anywhere else. They're not going to functions, and like they say they have this program and that program, and it's downtown, or if it's a different place and it's after school, or it's here and there. Well, the way that family is struggling and everything that's going on with it, I guarantee you that 90% of them are not getting to those programs. So they're not getting reached. And I don't think that they are getting reached in the schools. Everybody has a job right now. There's not a person
Mm.
dedicated to start dealing with these children. And you can't put it all on a guidance counselor, because that's not what their job is. Their job is to sit there and help kids. Okay, what college do you want to go to? Where are you going now that you're thriving? They're not capable of dealing with the child, or even know that there's a child there that's not thriving. So I do believe that there is, like in the United States, there's
Mm.
what they call NAMI, and NAMI, and
Mm.
it's National Alliance for Mental Institute for Wellness, Health.
Yes.
You can always go to NAMI, and they have, phone numbers and everything. I would tell everyone to go that direction if they're in the States. I'm not sure about Australia and places, but I'm sure they have places like that.
We
Google mental
do.
health.
We have,
Yes,
yeah, there's
yes,
places like Beyond Blue, etc., which
yes,
offer health to both adults and
yes.
to children. And in
What-
Australia, we have the Kids Helpline, which is
Oh,
our
good.
principal phone line for kids that need support.
Oh, that's so beautiful. What I think what's happening, trying to answer your question, I don't believe they're getting help, and they're not finding these numbers, and they're scared to
Yeah.
death what's happening at home. They're scared of their parent or their guardian that is mentally ill. They're not even functioning in schools, and they would not ever, until we bring the solutions to the children. They have no idea that that's out there. So I really do believe we're still failing our children
And,
immensely.
and it's oftentimes that the support they need is quite practical, isn't it? Like
Yes,
making sure that they have transport to an after school program,
yes.
making sure they have access to a phone to make a call. So sometimes it's actually the little things as well as the big things like the programs that we need.
Yes, and I do believe one simple thing we could start at schools is when the school begins. I think when they need to have, when they have them parent meetings at the beginning,
Yes.
they need to address that if you have any mental health issues going on in your home, you have a private place where you can share that with us. And please let us know which child is suffering, having that issues at home, so that we know to keep our eye with that child, and we can
Mm.
start kind of being there for them, and maybe give them some extra bonuses, even with these programs that I'm trying to get through. But until I can get there,
Mm.
we can't wait just for me and everything that's we're trying to get to, for
Yeah.
solutions. But if they would do that beginning and just open the door and say, you can say it out loud. It's okay if you have that going on at home. Just like when the parents come in and say, well, their mother's home with cancer, or their father's struggling with um, a broken leg or a bad accident. Well, they should be able to say, at our house, we have a mental illness going on right now.
Mm.
So can you watch out for little Johnny or Mary,
Yes.
and keep your eye on them, because they're not going to say it out loud. They're scared to death unless, so I think even starting there is a start
Yeah.
to find a child, because you can't find that child. They're not going to raise their hand, and they're quiet.
Karen, before we go on and talk about childhood trauma, in talking about the education system, there really is an impetus on teachers to be aware and proactive versus reactive
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that we need to take a little pressure off them, because some of the teachers, I've talked to a lot of them, they're there to teach English, or they're there to
Mhm.
teach math. And
Yeah.
they go, if you would get these programs in and have someone dedicated, that person, and that class is mandatory. They have to take that class
Mm.
so that the child will either learn about mental health or mental illness.
Yes.
They can relate if they have it. They'll be able to relate if their friend has it. They'll
Mm.
be able to relate if they'll go, oh, now that I understand what's going on in my home, I don't have to feel so bad about myself. And
Yeah.
so, but we have to start getting people dedicated, because like the teachers are overworked to death.
Mm.
They really, I respect teachers so highly in my life.
Yes.
My mother was a teacher, and I just put them on the highest platform because they're taking care of our children. But they do need help. They need someone that
Yes.
they need that class. Mental, we have to name it something else. Somebody
Yeah.
says kind of cool to me the other day. They go, if you say anything, if you get this program going through that you're working so hard on, don't name it mental health or anything. The kids won't like that. They won't want to
Take
attend.
care of your mind.
Yeah, yes, we got to come up with something fun, interesting, pulling them in without making them sound like, oh my, we're just going to sit on a chair and listen to this.
Yeah.
So I think
Because it
that's
is about caring for those
yes,
wonderful little minds that are so precious in
yes,
their childhood. And
yes,
it's making sure that they understand that there is a safe space for them to talk about this stuff, that they're not alone, that they're valued, and kind of build their self-esteem. Karen, I want to sort of segue into childhood trauma, and you and I have had this conversation personally before about the impact of childhood trauma, whatever that looks like. And in this case, we're talking about the trauma of children either living with a mental illness or struggling with a parent or significant person in their life that has that. Um, One of the things that we wanted to talk about today is the long-term impacts if we don't do this work, Karen.
yes,
So you have personal experience with lived trauma and your childhood experience. And trauma in childhood always leads to something in adulthood. So
yes,
I'd love to talk about, from your experience, how that panned out for you. Because
yes,
the point here is, if we could support and help children through that traumatic period, things
yes,
change in adulthood. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Or bad things happen. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. If I would have had help, what happened because I didn't get help, I turned
Mm.
18, graduated from high school at 17. I went into the world with no self-esteem, no self-love for myself,
And
and
that's
what it just,
dangerous,
oh,
isn't it?
roller
Like,
coaster into
that's
everything
a
that was hell.
that's a vulnerability. So you may as well
Yes,
have vulnerable stamped
yes,
on your forehead.
yes,
I didn't
yes,
realize it. You would
yes,
never have realized it. It's not until we get to our later years that we
yes.
realize that vulnerability sets people up for all sorts of things, doesn't it?
Oh, it exposes you to the world to be abused. You constantly
Absolutely.
just draw it to you, and
You do.
it's like people know, they can sense that you have no self-worth, or that you're weak inside, and you've got the
Mm.
pit, and you just don't feel that you're worthy of anything. So
Yes.
you seem to draw people that don't respect you, people that don't want you to thrive, people, everything negative. So I guess if I was to say, if they were to
It's like
think you
a
like,
beacon on top of your head
it
that is
is, it's like negative,
a
negative,
red
negative.
light for
Yes,
perpetrators of any
yes.
description.
And they come hard, whether it's job related and not
Yep.
it can come by husbands and wives. It can
Yes.
come by divorces after divorce. It can come from people picking up on that at work and
Mhm.
just really abusing you at work,
Absolutely.
to the point where it's devastating, making you feel horrible about yourself and getting away with it.
Yeah.
Um, but it just doesn't. The whole thing for my whole book was that, is I took you all the way to adulthood to show you I'm here now, but I've only been here for a few years.
Yeah.
and I decided to tell everybody about it. But it has still, Tony, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me because I am here and I feel like I've come to
An
the other side.
amazing human being.
Well, I'm still feeling, I still go
It
through
still lasts,
everything.
doesn't it? Even
Yes,
though
it still
you
hurts.
even though
It's
you
still there.
do the healing, whereas if it
Yes,
had been built up in
yes,
childhood,
yes,
you wouldn't have lost it necessarily. And of course, bad things happen to a lot of people, but with childhood trauma, you're setting up a pattern in adulthood that
yes,
statistically there will be either drug abuse, alcohol
yes,
abuse,
yes.
sexual promiscuity, bad relationships, lack of boundaries, no self-love. That's what happens when we
And it's,
don't look after a
yes,
child who's living in
right.
or has trauma.
Absolutely. And it even affects you as a parent. So you become
Yeah.
a parent. I actually will tell the world I don't hold anything back. I got pregnant only because I wanted to hold something and call
And
it my own.
something to love you. Yep.
Love it
Same,
back.
same.
I did. I had to have my own little person so that nobody could take it away from me and I could love it. Because also, what was missing is the touch. When you have a parent that is, or a guardian, the love and the hugs are not there. So
Yeah.
now, so I had this yearning. And so I got pregnant so I could have my own little
Yeah.
person and I could just hug them, and just
Yes.
keep them. And
And the problem is, though, that that newborn baby does not respond to you in the way that you need. And
no,
so the cycle of
yes,
distrust in yourself, your
yes,
self-esteem, not only you had bad self-esteem to begin with, but now you have mother bad self-esteem
yes,
and mother guilt, and
yes.
it's
And you
just
feel like you're not doing the right thing for your child. In fact, I will be truthful. What is so painful in the story, I failed my children desperately. I've apologized to them and
yes,
they understand, but I carry that pain of that I got so messed up in my head there for a while that I actually, what you were made to live with is now created in your mind and you mentally struggle as if you had the
correct,
disease and
absolutely,
you show signs and I showed some big ones. I ran away for a while
yes,
I was running from, I just
pain.
didn't want anybody to see it. Yeah. And I didn't want him to watch because I figured I was going down the road. I was going to go all the way like my mother. And
Mm,
I thought, I don't want anyone, my father or my children,
to
to
have
see
to
me.
deal. Mm,
So I ran away.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's point out too that schizophrenia is not hereditary. It was
No,
unlikely that you would
right,
uh, get it passed on from your mother, but it
right,
is the childhood trauma of
right,
living with that disease, the
right.
schizophrenia, that had this impact on your adult life.
And nobody's telling you. Nobody's
No,
educating you.
that's
So
the
you think you're
thing.
going to catch it. You think you're going to be that because no one tells you anything. And they don't
Mhm.
even give you places to go, or
Yeah,
to, that's what's got to change, Tony, is
yes,
we've got to give these children a chance in this lifetime so that they don't, so they could thrive and not have, life's enough trouble. You have your roads, you
absolutely.
had a normal life and you're trying to make a living and a family and everything without carrying the weight. And I still
It is a
carry
weight.
it is a weight. And I don't know if you feel it, Tony, but my stomach still, I always talk about in the book that it was like a little electric mixer seemed to be
Yeah,
going all the
that's
time in
the
my
that's the
stomach.
one.
Yeah. And I still have it. I'm
I
not proud
know.
of it. I just wish it'd go away. Sometimes I meditate long, but I can't get that. That's what I want the world to know. It will never go away. If
Yeah.
we don't help these kids, it does not go.
Exactly, exactly. And if we could make it better in childhood, it's much easier in
Yeah,
adulthood to get the healing and support
yes,
if you've done or are aware of things that you can
yes,
do as a child or help a child,
yes,
things are better. I have to say, Karen, that those triggers are kind of ever present. You get better at dealing with them.
Yes.
but they're always there. So as you know, I have a grandson that struggles, and there just doesn't seem adequate support to help this child.
No.
And it's not for want of trying or for want of it's just not there, is it? In
No.
Australia, it's
And I
not. And
think
you're
it's
telling me
not
America's the same?
US. No, it's not here either. And the thing that people need to really listen to me when I say it cannot be from, in all respect, it needs to come from someone that is teaching at a program where the child is learning, because then you listen.
Yes,
Sometimes when the parent or grandparents try to tell them something, they just they don't hear you because
that's
they think
correct.
you're supposed to love them and you're trying to, they need to hear it from, it's just like a professional. When you go to school, you got your teacher and you learn everything from them. They need to have that person that they can relate to that is not part of that family,
Mm,
because they really want to talk about it, and
yeah.
they want to, it's the trust is not at home.
Mm.
The trust is broken. And when you start to get the physical beatings, and when that happened to me,
Just that one thing, a
yes,
physical beating, does
right,
something in a
right,
child's
right,
brain that
yep,
is irreparable.
right. And so home's not the place, though. I don't think my father could have sat down and told me anything, because
He didn't
I
know either.
they didn't either. And then you're at the home where you're getting beat and yelled at, so your whole confidence,
Mm,
everything is not there at the home.
mm.
So I think that yeah, it has to happen. We have to get it in the
Yeah.
schools. We have to get it in the
I have to agree, Karen, in thinking about some of this stuff. And um, I actually remember one teacher commenting on the red welts on my leg.
Yes,
And I lied
I
and said it
know.
was something else. Whereas if she had pushed just a little bit harder, she would have come to the truth. Would
Right.
anything have happened? I don't know. But
Yeah, we don't know.
I've had discussions even with my mother to say, did you not think of intervening in that
Yes,
moment? And she
yes,
actually said to me, yes, I should have stood up for you children. I should
right,
have intervened.
right.
Um, which is wonderful to hear. However, it didn't lessen the impact of what happened anyway. You know,
No, it's too
beatings to a child just they take away a trust in the world. They embed in your mind that you are
right,
bad and
right.
not deserving of anything. Um, and those things stick if they're embedded in a child's mind before the time that they're 8. They're
Yes.
pretty tricky to get rid of. Yeah.
It's tricky. And you know that the other thing that I felt when that's happening, all of a sudden, it's like your light went out. Like
Yes.
you're, and when I tell people this, I said, light on, light off.
Yeah.
And a child, it's almost like you reached in and just shut their switch off. And
Yeah.
now they're just surviving.
Yeah.
They're not trying to play. I mean, they're not trying to do anything that other little fun little kids are doing, because they're just trying to survive and
Yeah.
avoid the next beating
Yeah.
or the next verbal abuse.
And if you have some awareness around these topics, you can see that light dim
Yes,
or go out in a child, I
you can.
believe.
I
And I'm
believe it too.
sure, yeah,
We look
because
at pictures now of me, and I show the right when I was first born, how happy, and the smile was, my lips are clear to my ears. I'm a little kid, before I was 4. When that started to happen, you could honestly look at my family pictures
yeah,
and look at and just see the light out.
yeah,
The spark is gone,
yeah,
and you can see it, and it doesn't start returning until now.
yeah,
When people take a picture of me, they're catching the
absolutely,
light. But it's a
absolutely.
sad thing. It's a sad thing, because then they just, um, I don't know even how but if you start to tell the child that this is going to happen to you at home, but don't let it, maybe we can do some things to
Yeah.
prepare you for it.
Yeah.
And then
Sometimes they
maybe
just need to talk.
just talk about it, and
Just
maybe then
talk
bring in the other
about it.
parent, the guardian, say, or an aunt and uncle, and say, can we
Yes.
just diffuse it a little bit? We're getting quite a bit of pain here. Maybe
Mm.
we can just take them for French fries or Coke or something. Just start kind of juggling their life around and talking to them and educating them so that they don't feel
Giving
like
it's
every
almost
day.
like giving them respite, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Respite from their life, a break
yes,
from their life. You know, for me,
just a breather.
um, I would I would go to my nana and granddad's, because granddad was the person in my life who gave unlimited hugs, who told me he loved me. I still get such a warm delight in thinking about granddad and those, because he's a big man and he used to wrap me up, and I'm
Yeah,
quite tiny, but he would wrap me up in his arms and hug me and tell me how wonderful I was. So in
yeah,
him, luckily, and I'm not sure how much they knew or understood. So you don't know what they knew or what they understood or what their
right.
perspective was, you know. But it just there were people, in particular, Granddad and Nana, that I knew was a safe space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a safe space. And my unfortunate, um, my father wasn't born till my grandma, his mother was 50. So my
yeah,
grandma, they were gone. So I adored my grandfathers.
yeah.
They died. One died when I was 5, the next one when I was 6, and then my
Oh,
grandma at 15, and my last one at 21. So my other set of
yes,
support
was
was passing away.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Karen, when you think about the utopia of what the world looks like around support for um, mental illness, what does that look like for you? What
Well,
would
I think
be
it
your
looks
dream?
fantastic. My thing is it's starting to shift a little bit. It's going to take a lot of work, but the people that I'm dealing with now that we're creating these, we know that we can do a program that maybe they can, the government can purchase or whatever, they can get it into the schools. I'm not sure how
Yes,
it's going to work, but I'll get in front of the people that will make that decision. But if they could start doing that, they will absolutely start making it. It won't take much. When they put it in there, it's going to be like almost like, why haven't we done this 50 years ago?
yeah,
And when they do it, I think it will be almost instant. But
yeah,
if we don't get, I'm working very hard to get to that point this summer. Hopefully,
mm,
we'll have an appointment with Dr. Joe Biden and
yes,
get this done. And I really do, I'm always a positive person and advocate for these children. And I don't feel like I wrote the book. I don't feel like the people I've met have been an accident. I feel like I've
agreed.
on this road, and I feel like these women and these men that are joining forces with me were supposed to,
Mm,
and we were supposed to get this done for worldwide, not just the US.
yeah,
And
definitely.
it's global.
Mm,
And I really do feel that it's going to happen. I talk to people now. So what I'm doing with my speaking, why we're doing
yes,
this, is I tell them, don't wait for me. I'm coming and everything's coming, but that child needs you today. So that's why I'm still out there. Say it out loud. They give a
mm,
child a voice. They're quiet. They've been asking me, the teachers ask me, so
mm,
tell me what that kid looks like. I said, well,
yes,
look for the DNF student. That's number one. They're not DNFs. That's because they're not getting help at home.
mm,
Something's going on there, so they're not studying. Their mind is somewhere.
yeah,
You have to figure out where that little mind is.
yeah,
Because when I had D's and F's, it's because every time the clock ticked, it was one more minute closer that I had to go home. That's how I was looking at the clock in the classroom. I couldn't
yeah,
even understand the teacher. So
yeah.
I couldn't hear him. So I just say, look for that. And reach down into that child and say, and kind of special. So look for DNFs. If they're not raising their hands, and being part of the environment. You know how
Not engaging.
not engaging. If they're in sports, look to see if if there's parenting coming to watch. If no one's there to watch that child, I guarantee you there's something going on at home. My parents
Uh-huh.
never came to one game. My dad was a workaholic and my mother was naturally sick and
Yes.
with her schizophrenia, so she never came to one volleyball game. And I played for years. So you watch for that. There are things that people, simple things that I try to help people find,
Yeah.
simple things like
And
that.
and if you create awareness about what you're looking for, it will stand out for you.
Yes,
So for anyone listening, if you are now aware, you will look at the children in and around your life with a different lens. It's that lens that the
yes,
world sees these children through that we need to change. So there's
yes,
an awareness, number one, and then change the lens that we look at children. So if they're acting up in class, what's that about? Like, what's
yes,
going on that's
yes,
causing them to act up? If they're not engaging, why are they not engaging? And
right.
it's just a conversation, isn't it,
It's
Karen?
just a conversation. And I say this, I said, I know it's such a touchy subject, but all these high school shootings or
Mm.
these school shootings have been done by usually a high school child,
Yes.
9.9. And when they look at that child, there was mental illness in that home or abuse.
Mm.
So if we can get, let's just say this I just say it out there for the world to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if you were talking to that little child at 12 years old and you were starting to explain things to them? What if they came to you and said, I'm starting to feel kind of funny inside.
Yeah.
Could you help me? I would just wonder how many school shootings we've stopped and we didn't even know it. Well,
Correct. I'm absolutely agree with you on this topic, particularly, Karen, and we've talked about it in private before, that
yes,
mass shootings or
yes,
bad things that happen
yes,
where the perpetrator is, a child,
yes.
there is always trauma in that
Always,
background of
always.
description.
Yes. And that child, when they was
Felt
young, it
unloved,
had, it had
unsupported.
It had unsupported help, and you know that it was like you visit with people about that, and they'll go, well, they were showing signs for years, he wasn't doing this or she wasn't doing that. I said, this is it. This
You
is
had
it.
the opportunity to intervene then,
Yes. And so if
but
you had a
didn't.
program, instead of walking past the child and not doing anything, that child's in a program and has to go to that class.
Yeah,
And one way or another, they're going to speak it out because they do want to talk about, they don't want to feel like that inside.
yeah,
I never wanted to feel that icky inside. I hated feeling that. I
yeah.
hated feeling like I wanted friends so bad and I wondered what their lives were. And I was always just looking around going, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. So I would even make up stories to the bus driver. I mean, they'll carry it so far so that they can get to other little kids' home and play.
Yeah,
There's there's incredible signs.
yeah, yeah. And if a child discloses to you what's going on, believe them.
Yes, they don't make it up.
Believe them. Like,
You
we
know that old
have
story.
this
Right.
societal idea that children lie. If they're talking about adult concepts, there's no way a child can know
No,
what they're talking about
no.
unless they'd experienced it.
And even if I even go so far, even if they are fantasizing and giving you a little bit of a story,
You'll
that's
get
because
to it.
that's where they're wanting to live.
Mm,
There is something still going on in that home that they're trying to create this
mm.
imaginary world that they're trying to tell you about.
Yeah.
That's also a sign. Like, why are you? I would go in and I would stay outside to avoid my mother all day. And I would make up stories out in to the shop, the machine shop, and I'd create the mom that I wanted, and I'd create my little family, and I would get on my dad's tractor and feel like I was driving away with my little family. So they will create. If they start telling you like a little fun, weird story like that,
Mm.
um, that might be a thing as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think,
yeah. Karen, in thinking about your childhood and what's now transpired in terms of your work now, are you happy to share with the audience where you are with that
yeah.
work?
Oh, yes, I'd absolutely love to share. Thank you so much. And I'll start out with a quick little thing. I looked on my email right before we got on, Tony, and I had a little boy because I had spoken in Africa to 10,000 children. And I
Yes.
had a young man named Mike, and he emailed me today and he goes, I'm working on what you taught about depression and everything that happens to children,
Yeah.
us over here. So he said, I've made it a mission because nobody's doing anything in the schools here either. So in Africa, he walks to school. He goes, now I start talking. A bunch of us kids walk 10 miles to school every day,
Yeah.
talking to these children. And I said, we're all going to start talking about what bothers us. And we're going to start
Yes.
talking what's going on in our home. Because he said they're depressed as well. There's depression there. And so he goes, I just wanted you to know. He never asked for anything. He said, I
Mm.
just wanted you to know what my day's like. And I'm really trying to push your word forward. So they are listening. So what I do to be proud of what I do. I went to San Diego, just got done speaking at some high schools there. Um,
Yes.
I really put myself out there for high schools if they want. That's everybody beats to their own drum. A lot of schools don't want you in because
Yeah.
the program's not there. Whatever,
Yeah.
that's fine. So
Yeah.
I can do teachers. What I've really been doing now is working with a professor that teaches teachers from a college in San Diego. And she's
Wow.
the doctor, Dr. Susan, and she has joined me. A doctor here in Castle Rock has joined me, a president of NAMI for Colorado.
Yes.
And now we have another PhD doctor out of San Diego joining me. And we're starting this next month, the month of June. So everybody can get excited about that. We're going to start meeting on Zoom. We're going to start putting together the piece of the program.
Mm.
The president of NAMI and I are going to our Governor Polis here in the state of Colorado. We're going to sit down with him and show him what we've designed and what we're wanting to go with, and have him help us get the appointment with Dr. Jill Biden. We want this program to go all the way. So
Yeah.
we're not just, I want people to understand, I'd love to be able to be in every school, but it won't help. I had to do it this way. If I
Yeah.
don't do this, then no one will get any help.
Yeah.
So I really knew that I had to get a force behind me, with me, masterminds, if you will, and we are moving forward so that that program can come to schools.
There's something special that will come of this combination, Karen, because it's important to have people involved in designing programs that have lived experience.
Yes,
You lived through it,
yes,
you've experienced what happened because of it, you've come out the other side with healing. And
yes,
so that perspective is so important. Then when you get together with an education expert, a mental health expert, and put them all together, it's incredible what you guys will come up with in terms of a program for schools.
yes.
And we're not talking something that's massive.
No,
Karen, from talking to you, this is just a simple subject within all schools
yes,
that gives awareness to mental health from
yes,
an age where children can understand that this is what it looks like, so that they might recognize it in others or in themselves.
yes,
A similar perspective, if I'd understood that those tentacles of darkness that I felt at 15 were depression, then maybe by the time I got to my nursing career, I would have been a little bit more, oh, okay, this is what depression looks like. This is what it feels like. Bearing in mind that it's different for every person, but there are fundamental elements of how
Yes.
it presents itself, how it
Mhm.
feels, how your
Yeah.
mind feels. Things like brain fog and darkness and dark thoughts and all of that can lead you
Yes.
to have some idea, oh, okay, there's something a little not quite right. Who do I talk
Yes.
to? Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And if someone hears something in the background, we are having a thunderstorm here in Colorado.
Oh,
But
see the
so,
lightning. I'm
but
like, stop.
it's really, I just thought I have to share that with them because I go, my goodness, what does that sound? But the thing that if you make it simple so that they
Yes.
understand it, we don't want to come in with the words that are 30 letters long
Yeah.
and make it and then try to give them a test. And there wouldn't be a test. I
No,
don't want
it's
a
just
test. It's not a grade
information
thing.
sharing.
You have to come. You have to come. That's all. If the only thing you have to do is show up and then make it so simple because kids are resilient. But they want it simple. They want to know,
Yeah.
okay, so if my mother says the word crazy, or if my mother says I can't wear red today because people pick on me because that's in her mind where she's went in her schizophrenia because it's
But is
so
that the truth? Teaching kids that questioning, but is
yes,
that the truth?
yeah,
Will wearing red mean
yes.
ABC? Well,
And then you just talk to them and say, well, probably not, but if you're going to satisfy your mother with schizophrenia, and teach them how to live with it. That's another thing.
yes,
One of the biggest things in
practical
the program,
skills.
skills how to live with one of the big solutions that I'm working on with one of the professors
Yeah.
is the solutions on how to live with it,
Mm.
because you can't change it. They
No,
can't fix that parent
no.
and they don't want to lose that parent. But if we teach them how to live with it,
Mm.
then they can survive and go, oh, I know what to do now. When they do
Yes.
that, I'll put the red on because then there won't be an issue. And then,
Yeah.
it's teaching them how to flow through schizophrenia,
Yes.
come out and come to school and get away from it. And then when you go home, get ready to put your skills to work that you
Yeah.
learned in the program.
Yeah.
So yes, we're really coming up with solutions on how to live with it.
And sometimes it's just about equipping them with strategies to keep them safe.
Yes.
So perhaps it's recognizing, oh, mum's particularly angry today. Maybe
Yes.
I'll ring my aunt and see if I can go shopping with her, or
Yes.
maybe I'll ring a friend and see if I can go to the park with them. It's about simple, practical things that they
Yes.
can do that
Yes.
will
And
keep
they
them
can.
safe.
Yes, and reach out for help,
Yeah.
and give them, and if they can't get someone, we've actually got solutions on how to get away from the situation. If it
Yes.
and then if it's severe, then then how to get to the 911, you know,
Yeah.
call if it gets severe, because in some cases it does. And so I really think you've hit on something really good too,
Yeah.
is just the simple things on how to get through and survive it. And little things like, even I thought if they can't get an aunt or uncle, or they can call their other parent, because now they have cell phones. Back in my day when my mother had this, we didn't have
It's a
cell
bit more
phones.
difficult, but
Yeah,
today there's
there
cell
wasn't,
phones.
yeah, our phone hung on the wall. So and we
Yeah,
had a party line, so we couldn't do that. But nowadays, and a lot of these little kids even have Apple Watches, so they can do
that's
some
right.
to or just go to another room, just when it gets that angry. We're
Yeah,
really coming up with, and make it simple. We're doing like just
yeah,
10
yeah.
steps. This is
Yes.
how to diffuse, so it's not hard for them to memorize.
Yeah, yeah. Karen, thinking back to that childhood of yours, did you ever think of calling 911?
No,
See?
no,
See? It
it never,
never entered your awareness, and that's the point we're
no,
trying to make, isn't it?
yeah,
To equip these kids with ideas that will
yes,
help
because all I did was run. Like, I had a window in my bedroom. A lot of times I would crawl out and hide on the
run
roof,
away. Mm.
and I'd hide in the
Yeah,
attic, and
yeah,
I'd be really quiet. I'd hide in a closet, and I could hear people. I could hear mom walking by. I would hide and I wouldn't even move. So can you
yeah.
imagine? hours and hours of
Yeah.
hiding.
Yeah.
But basically that's all I did. And I didn't know to even call for help. I just hid, I just hid.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, just making sure that kids know how to work within what they've been handed, because we
Yeah,
can't pick them up and take them all out of
yeah.
their home, but we
They don't,
can
they don't, we can, but they don't want
teach
to
them.
go. Yes.
Exactly, because and that's the other thing too, Karen, that we need to point out, that even in severe abuse, they still have attachment to that parent. They still have love for that parent.
Oh, they do, and they don't understand. They've got so much mixed emotions because they know that their mom or their dad or guardian is supposed to love them, but and they're not getting the hug, so they got all this mixed feelings. But you try to take that child away from that parent, and they don't want to go. It's just like
Yes.
when you got a drug addiction or an alcoholism. Most generally, the child does not want to go. I'm not saying that in all cases,
Mm.
but most generally, we've got to help the child because they don't want to be taken away from
No,
their their home.
and neither is it the right thing for anyone, actually.
Right,
It's
right.
about giving them skills to cope in the environment that
Yes,
they're in. Yeah?
yes, yes, absolutely. And then teaching family members if they're listening, even if you know when it's going on in your family, if you live by your sister or brother that are grown
Mm.
adults and they're having issues, you know that your nieces or nephews are hurting.
Yeah.
The neatest thing that my aunt did, it sounds so silly, but it didn't cost anything. She'd come over and take me for French fries or a chocolate malt.
Mm.
I'm telling you, just that little bit of going to the drive-in and having a chocolate
Yes.
malt just for a little bit changed my whole day.
Mm.
So you can intervene with even little things
Yes.
that will make that child survive it.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
survive it.
And as you're talking, Karen, I'm quickly thinking of some of the things in my own childhood. So neighbors that were always screeching and yelling, and pots were flying, and all of that. Reflecting now, and I'm like, well, that was an abusive
Yes,
environment. But I didn't understand that because we never talked about those things. So now we need to start talking this.
yes.
If you're hearing lots and lots of loud yelling and banging, then that's not a good thing. Yeah.
It's a good thing. And if you're a child and you hear it, you need to, they're probably not listening, but if adults are, you
Yes.
need to also give them solutions. If you know that your neighbor's doing that, you need to work with you see it's nothing in your home, but the neighbor's got it going on. There's some really mental illness, mental issues going
Yes.
over there. So you need to give your child then solutions on how to,
How
uh,
about you invite little Johnny over for
yes,
dinner, or come play
yeah,
for an hour or
come
so?
for a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of teach them that you can be a friend.
Yeah.
You can be
And the
friends.
other thing about that is you're creating awareness in your own child. You're
Right.
teaching them about support and empathy and understanding for mental illness. And that goes a long way to changing our world, doesn't it?
It does. It's just simple word love. If you love and be kind,
Yeah.
and if you start, the world just starts looking at all one out of it's a proven medical fact.
Yes.
1 out of every 6 person is suffering with some form of
Of
mental
mental
illness.
health,
It can be bipolar, anxiety, depression, whatever, or schizophrenia, manic,
schizophrenia,
but
manic,
one
all of
out
the
of
above.
6. So then your next question, if you're, it will make you sit down if you're not. So ask yourself, if 1 out of every 6, how many of those have children?
Yeah. So
That
have a
tells
look around your environment and go,
look
one in
around
six
because it's
people
not
I
that far.
know
That's right.
potentially
Not
has
that
something
far away
going
from
on.
you.
And that's
And
the
you can, yeah,
awareness.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Karen, before we run out of time, I want to quickly talk about the book, where people can get it, um, and um, and what writing the book has meant to you.
Well, thank you, Tony, for that. The book, The Snipers We Couldn't See, they can go on my website, and it's just my name, Karen Comba, and it's a nice Canadian name. My husband's
Yes.
Canadian, so it's Comba, and they can find me there. If they do the click on contact Karen, it goes right to my email. So I really wanted to make it easy for people to get a hold of me, and if they wanted to talk,
Yes, to chat and talk.
they need me to come see their association or speak to them, they can go through that and go through me directly.
Yeah.
And then also there's ways of getting my book, whether it's Barnes and Noble, Tattered,
It's
Amazon,
everywhere.
everywhere. My Tasca, you can get it anywhere. And that's all got buttons. I made it real easy, so you can just click. Also, I have a page there for resources.
Yes.
So it does trigger, and my website guy now is he'll add Tony's show, but he's adding my podcast and all my shows, my radio shows, so that you can have the chance to go there instead of trying to find me somewhere
Yeah.
and just listen to the conversation, if that will help you. And then I have Facebook page, which is just my name. And then my Instagram is Karen Comba Writes. So that's how they can get a hold of me and watch me and follow me and see where the program's going.
And for the audience today, just a reminder that wherever you're watching this interview, in the show notes will be the direct links to everything that Karen shared with us today. Karen, the book has been the catalyst to set you on this path, and you love speaking to not just school children and teachers, but organizations as well, to raise their awareness and understanding of the impacts of mental illness on our society. You do that all over the globe, yes?
Right. Yes. And I go into, I've been toying with it, and corporates are thinking about having me come into their businesses because of schizophrenias. We're talking about, you making it so that if you do have a mental illness, you can still have a wonderful career.
Correct.
You got to just kind of start opening it up so we can quit doing it. But the book has meant, I just knew, Tony, it really wasn't about me. I felt like, I knew I had to write it so people knew I knew what I was talking about. It's just like saying, okay, I know what you're talking about. Well, now that I've put it out there and it's raw, they go, my gosh, she does know. So I knew I had to do that. And I've had this book in me for 30 years. It's just come to this last year. I just carried that thing, and so I knew that I was chosen to do it, and I
agree.
Doing it. And I am so thankful. And I give thanks to my God every day, and I go, open them roads, and I will go anywhere and do anything to get this done. And then I'll rest. And then I'll rest.
And a long way before that's going to happen,
Long
my
way
darling.
before that goes. Yes. I figure another 20 years of this, and we'll see where we're at.
Absolutely.
But I just have no intention of quitting.
I love the fact that you've gone to Africa and spoken to people over there and children. I think that that's amazing, because often we're focused on our Western democracies and we forget that third world countries are battling as well. Mental illness doesn't have it doesn't discriminate. Mental illness can happen to anyone in any continent across this globe. And the more awareness we create around the support that people need to live an abundant life, and a mental health diagnosis should not mean that life ceases to be. Life just gets more enriched. And if you have the support and the skills to help you, it can be a very enriching life. Yeah.
Yes. And we need to make it as simple as, and don't mean this the way it's going to sound, but it is the only way I can put it, is it's just got to flow out, just like cancer flows out, diabetes flows out. We need to just say it out loud and say, you're going in for a health checkup.
Yes.
And we need
to make it as normal as going for a blood pressure checkup.
So that people understand.
And just as you have high blood pressure, I deal with a mental illness. My mental illness is da-da-da-da-da-da. It means in my life, this, and this.
Yes.
really make it a very
Yes.
normal part of human existence. And
Absolutely. Make
then continue helping Karen with the amazing work that she's doing around advocacy for mental illness. Karen, we're almost out of time. It is an absolute privilege to share this time with you. I am excited about the changes that you will bring into this world. I will be following your journey with delight. I know that we will chat again, and I promise the audience that we will get Karen back um, uh, when she gets to certain points in this journey, because I know that you want to hear what's happened and what's gone on. But just finally, if you're listening to this show and you need some help and support, please reach out to Karen. Jump onto Karen's website. You will find all sorts of resources that will give you help to start with. And then please contact Karen if you've got any questions, or indeed you can help her project and get these changes made in our schools, because our children are precious. They are the next generation. We need to support them. And this is a big area where they need support.
Yes.
Karen, thank you so much for sharing the show with me today.
Oh, it's an honor to be with you, Toni, and thank you for, it's just been an absolute joy. And you're just such an incredible woman in what you do for women and get all our missions out there and our journeys. I tell you, the world's a better place because you're in it. And I'm very honored. And
Oh,
thank you very
thank
much.
you for your beautiful words. Finally, audience, don't forget to connect with Karen Comba, if you're dealing with any sort of mental illness questions. She has lived experience with schizophrenia. I encourage you to reach out, connect. I also encourage you to jump on and grab your copy of Karen's book, particularly if you're dealing with mental illness in any way, shape, or form. Karen, that's our lot for this week. I look forward to further conversations down the track. That, my friends, is the final show with Karen, but we will bring Karen back in the future to update us on her mission and her advocacy around mental illness. Karen, thank you.
Thank you.
That, my friends, is your lot for today. Bye for now.